What is up, YouTube? Dustin Yui here, back with some more Deaddrop slash Midnight Society information. So I recently posted a video just with a brand new snapshot of the game that came out when they announced it. They had a founders event, and there seemed to be a little bit of confusion over, just how the game looks, how it feels, how it looks like garbage even though it hasn't been out that long. And I think there's just been a lot of misunderstanding with how the development process works and kind of like the timeline to date. So this is kind of like educational video to help people understand where we're at and why the game might not look perfect just yet. If you guys enjoyed today's video, please leave a like. If you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button for more Deaddrop and Midnight Society. And without further ado, let's hop into it. Okay, so we're going to break it down into a timeline of 5 events. The first event was the studio announcement, which happened on December 14th at 12 p.m. 2021, and they were working on a thing called Project Moon. Here is the tweet from them. This was their first ever tweet. You can see 12 p.m. So I think the first big misconception is that they already had a full AAA studio team created. And basically people are like, what the heck's going on? Like, this game looks like garbage. But anyways, here's your 4 founders. We got Guy Beam, aka dr.disrespect. So he's the visionary. A lot of people think that he's developing the game. He previously has worked on Call of Duty. I think it was Infinite Warfare. He designed maps, and he was the community manager before that. But he is not a developer. He's not going to be coding the game. Next up, you got Sumit Gupta, who is a co-founder and the CEO of Midnight Society. He's founded several game-related companies, including Boom TV. He also, if I recall correctly, he was a big investor in DrDisrespect's stream early on, which kind of like helped him rise up and be, that next level. Next up, you have Quinn Del Hoyo, who's a co-founder, and he is going to be the creative director. So he's led sandbox design of Halo Infinite, and he has 14 years of AAA game dev experience. He worked on level and weapon design at Epic Games on Gears of War as well. And then the fourth one, who's kind of the big one to me anyways, is Robert Bowling. So he's a co-founder as well. So there's 4 co-founders, and he's going to be the studio head. So he's going to be the head guy who's kind of directing and leading the ship. So he was the creative lead on Call of Duty, and he has 15 plus years of AAA game dev experience. He worked at Robotki as the studio head, and he's a publishing head at Humble Bundle. So he worked on like Modern Warfare 2. He kind of has a similar background to dr.disrespect. He started out as like a community manager and then kind of worked his way in, and I think he was like a creative director at some point. But yeah, like he worked on Call of Duty way back when it was some of the best games, and he was on the Infinity Ward side. Next up on the timeline is their active recruiting, which started in December when they announced. And basically, I think it went for a couple months, but essentially they tweeted out, said, we're building a new PvP multiplayer game from the ground up in Unreal Engine 5, which is a unbelievable game engine. Want to join the team? Now hiring across all roles. So this literally was tweeted after they tweeted the initial announcement. And because it was December, obviously you have Christmas and like holidays within there. So you can just assume that they didn't actively recruit over Christmas time and like over New Year's. But even if you look at their tweets within the hiring process, even like January 28th, we're seeking a highly experienced tech director, passion for first-person shooters. This was announcing that Darren Bacon was the studio art director. Essentially, they were recruiting for a while. Next up on the timeline, we have the founder and variant application process that began. So if we go back to the Twitter, it says, this is a Create Your Midnight Society account and claim your free Zero Claw unit patch. Apply for founder access for a chance to be one of the first 10,000 to drop into Project Moon. Only 8 days left. So basically, I applied and got accepted, but I didn't actually know until way later that I was accepted. So basically, it took you to this screen. You had to apply. You got this day zero patch. There's a free wallpaper. Fourth on the timeline is when the actual 10,000 variants were selected. So that was on July 1st. Basically, you received an email, and it said, hey, you've been selected as a founder. The pass will be available to purchase, which is essentially the NFT that everyone kind of made a big kerfuffle about. The NFT will be available for purchase between April 5th and April 7th, and then they kind of opened it up and added further people once people didn't purchase within that time frame. It's all in Ethereum, but if you were a variant founder, you get this character as your character when the game comes out, along with access to the snapshots, and like just the events and stuff that are coming out for just these specific 10,000 people. And then finally on July 29th, this is kind of like the 5th timeline point, we have the founder event / Deaddrop announce. So there was an event held at the FaZe warehouse in Los Angeles, and this was live streamed. It was kind of privately live streamed just to variants. I'm sure some other people, got access to it, and some streamers were there and all that kind of stuff. But essentially, this is where we were told what the game was called. So part of that release was just the information about the snapshot that we got. So it says, what's inside snapshot CL 1859, that's what it's called. So July 29th. Essentially, you can look, the first snapshot here is ride the elevator to the player hideout. So that's basically what you saw in the gameplay that I and others posted. First glimpse into the world of Deaddrop. Here you can grab your weapon and put it to the test in 3 firing ranges. And this portion actually really gives you a good sense of how long they've been developing. So it says this build represents 1,859 check-ins from the Deaddrop team. So everything is remote from this team, and that's what they were hiring for. So it says March 1st to July 26th. So they've essentially been developing for 4 to 5 months. And like I showed you, they haven't even had a full team for that whole portion. So a lot of it could be prototyping, building the world, that kind of stuff. So they haven't even really jumped into much other than the player hideout, because they want to get the gameplay down and everything else while they come up with the design of the actual map. And these were the minimum required. So you needed Windows 10, 4.2 gigahertz, i7 770K, 32 gigabytes of RAM, 20 gigabytes available, HDD space, and NVIDIA GTX 1080. Now this, I don't think this was very accurate, because I have a 3080 and this is all running on UE5 at max settings. It's got ray tracing and all that kind of stuff on. The settings are very limited in terms of what you can actually adjust. So a lot of people had troubles running it in general. Some people were also able to run it with 16 gigs of RAM. Personally, I have a Ryzen 9 3950 XT. I have an EVGA 3080, and I have 32 gigs of RAM, and I was running between 60 to 75 frames per second. So the game isn't optimized at all. There's also some more info just talking about the environment, the weapons bench, the passage, interior range, passage B, exterior range. Here's a screenshot of it. Just talks about the classified rifle. Doesn't really have a name yet. And then this is kind of the map of what we have in the game. Player ability, so just basic locomotion. So there's walk, sprint, and crouch. For controls, it was totally mouse and keyboard. They actually didn't really have any controller support. There's going to be accessibility features. There were some settings where you could change the resolution, the windowed state, toggle on off frame counter, adjust sensitivity, and the VSync settings. And then talks about the networking and then how to provide feedback. All right, so that's the timeline. Essentially, most of the information is available on their website if people actually wanted to go and look. And in this website, you can sign up and potentially become I don't know how many more variants or whatever they're adding, but essentially you can get a gist of what the whole environment is like. So introducing DrDrop, a vertical extraction shooter for a new age of competitive multiplayer. So essentially what this means is the game is going to be kind of like a battle royale, but more so along the lines of Tarkov. So if you die, you lose your stuff, you're out of the game. And it's vertical because it's going to be in a giant building. So if I actually go to the variant guide that we were given as variants, basically it's the same info that's on the website, but you can see a better photo of essentially what the tower looks like. So this is the helipad that's in the player hideout. It says 2020B, 40 years into the climate wars, population and pollution levels skyrocket, cities erect massive refiner estates, mega structures built to extract toxins from the stratosphere. These towers are self-governed city-states with only one export, space dust. I don't even know what that means. So essentially you got a tower. There's going to be AI players who I'm assuming are going to be the cleaners. There's 2 factions that you can be a part of, the skins and the sins. Again, not a huge fan of the name, but essentially you're going to be able to enter the building. The live stream had Robert Bowling just talking about how he's looking for feedback, essentially how you get into the building. There's obviously a helipad. At some point, maybe you can buy a heli, fly up to the top. He was talking about there's a garage, maybe you have a Lambo that you can drive to the bottom. Basically, they want to have different ways to enter the map, similar to a Tarkov, where there's different places that you go in and then different ways to extract. So similar idea, that's what they're going for. So here is a little bit more about the future of game development. So those are the 4 founders we looked at. So they said they had over 400,000 founder access pass applications, and basically there's 10,000 who got it. I'm one of those. So it says they're working on a PvPvE multiplayer experience the world has never seen, which we already kind of talked about. But this whole thing about creating experience in a vacuum. So that's when Call of Duty makes a game, a lot of people see the game like maybe a month or two before the game's actually released. At that point, and I'm also an EA NHL game changer, so I like kind of understand that experience. Like a few months out of the game actually being released, we're given the game to play and like feedback on. However, most of the game's already developed at that point. It's more just tweaking how the game feels, and that's basically it. So this process essentially is giving the variants or the founders, whoever, you know, the people who bought the NFTs and were given the access, basically we're going to get a new snapshot every 6 weeks from the game's initial announce. So that was July 29th. So in another 6 weeks, we'll get a second snapshot, and that'll have a lot of the feedback that the players who've played the game kind of have passed along. So in terms of things like movement, you know, visuals, all that kind of stuff, how the gun works, and they're going to continue to build on that experience within the player hideout. So the player hideout, if you watch my original video, there's a ton of doors that are locked, and there's literally nothing behind those doors, but they're expanding the map to add things that go along with the features that they're adding based on the feedback. So maybe it's more shooting ranges. They talked about the garage that I mentioned. Maybe there's a trophy room. Maybe there's some kind of parkour course, you know, like just whatever, you know, just to test out the game mechanics and stuff. So this space is going to continuously grow as the game's being developed. Here's a little bit of concept art. So not a whole lot of info here, but just like identifying the variants. So this is just basically talking about the stuff that led up to people being chosen as variants, but I'm kind of more interested in the background imagery. So basically that looks like an NPC or an AI player. Looks like there's a bunch going on below them in terms of stuff going on. There's a walkway up top, there's stairs, maybe like a server room. So there's a lot of concepts going on. Here's some more concepts, breakdown of a variant. It just kind of talks about the stuff there. But I kind of really like the art style. It looks really neat. You can see they put VSM on his knuckles there. So this might be Dr.Disrespect skin. I'm not too sure. I know he had like 2 NFTs that he was given. And this looks kind of like an industrial environment. I'm more interested in the actual artwork though. So this looks like an outdoor environment on the building. There's kind of like a dome there. Looks like there's some scale, a lot of trees happening, maybe like a waterfall. This looks like a giant wrap to another outdoor platform. A lot of green space going on. So it won't just be a warehouse, and there won't just be like rooms and hallways to walk through. It actually looks like there's going to be some outdoor environments. And then if we come to this one, which is also interesting, you have like a big water, like looks like a, you know, like a pond maybe or something. Just a lot of different aspects that they're thinking about. This talks about the hideout, place for the claws to display and train with their best gear, weapons bench, etc., which we saw in the snapshot. Here's another look at the firing range. So this is also in the snapshot. Behind the scenes, this is just some concept art. So it looks like the workbench down here. This is like the firing range, so pushing that to shoot those, and this is kind of like the flow. So part of the event, Robert Bowling talked about just the way, like I said, how you get to the tower and essentially to fight, and possibly part of that is just like actually having a vehicle that you can build and upgrade, and that the matches actually might start before you enter the building. You know, multiple teams are driving up in their Lambos. You know, they get out and they start fighting before they even get into the building, you know? All right, so once again, all this information basically, so we were given this as variants, and it's like a nice little document that you can read, but essentially all this is here. So you got the Deaddrop information, you got the studio information, you got the path of the game studio. The thing that I'm not a huge fan of is essentially they're calling it Dr.Disrespect studio, which it is in a sense, but like, there's obviously a lot more going on, and I don't see him being more than kind of like, you know, obviously he's a co-founder and maybe he'll have some creative vision for the game. I just don't see him being like much more than that. Like, he's obviously not a developer. Maybe he'll have, you know, input on how the flow of the game works, you know, because that's, you know, obviously that's what he streams. He streams a lot of Warzone, Apex, Tarkov, that kind of stuff. But in general, I just don't see him being more than that, you know, like he's kind of like a figurehead. Like he's there. He's obviously a founder, and he'll be like the hype man, you know, like showing off the game and getting people jacked up about it. And then here's the thing about the job. So there's still continuously recruiting people. There's stuff all about the different information, the roadmap. Here's the roadmap where it talks about some of the stuff. Oh, there's some more concept art. But yeah, again, if you're curious about more of the stuff, just go to midnightsociety.com. There's a lot of info. You can go to the about page, look at the leadership, look at the whole game team. But in general, I feel like there was a lot of negativity over something that's literally only been developed for 4 months. If you look at a game like Call of Duty, They have 3 studios working on their games basically at all times, parallel to each other. So when a game comes out, that team works on the next game for 3 years. The following year, another game comes out from a different studio. That game is worked on for 3 years. The following year, a new game is developed by a different studio for 3 years. So we're at 2022. They literally said, okay, cool, we started maybe in March. Makes sense. But I wouldn't expect the game to come out till at least the end of 2024, if not 2025. 2024 is only 2 years. If they did that in that time, that'd be extremely impressive. But I would say at least 3 years time for that. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This gives you a little bit more insight, kind of like the timeline of events, and essentially a little bit of more like information about the game itself, like what kind of the feel is going to be. So if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you haven't done so, hit the subscribe button. And yeah, I'm gonna obviously be showing more of the snapshots as they come out, but I hope you enjoyed, and hopefully we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching, guys.